Hey everybody, what's up? I was gonna go to the range today and I'm all packed up and everything. Mags are loaded, all that stuff. But something showed up at my doorstep, so plans canceled. Plus it's an indoor range anyway, I wasn't too excited. Guess what showed up? That did. And that is an SRT trigger kit for the P226. Look at that. I know I really just mentioned briefly that I was going to purchase this to clean up the trigger on my SIG because the reset on it is atrocious in single action. It's very P30-esque. And my goal here is to improve it. I must say though, I'm not too impressed that I paid $50 for two pieces. I know a lot of people say HK stuff is overpriced, but if you saw the match trigger kit, and yeah, it's twice the price, but if you saw the match trigger kit, it was full of parts, and they all, work together to make the trigger better. These pieces better make this trigger night and day, because if I spent $50 on two pieces, and it's gonna be meh, I'm gonna be very upset. I want to apologize in advance for the dryer noise in the background. I don't have a free schedule like a lot of people do. Now luckily this install is much easier and straightforward than the HK. So we're just gonna dive into it. Now I don't know any of the parts nomenclature for this gun because I didn't look it up beforehand. I kind of watched a video and it's the Hobbyist channel's video. I know I didn't really quote my sources for the last video I did, but I gotta say, this doesn't feel metal. I know it is, but it doesn't feel like metal. So here's what we're gonna do. Gotta take the slide off, set it off to the side. Now what we're gonna be doing is, you see that little spring there? I think it's a sear spring. This part is going in to replace that part, and that's where that spring's gonna rest. So that's gonna be a big pain in the ass. And then right next to it, on the inside, opposite the ejector, is this piece here, which I'm moving with my thumb. That is what this piece is. So it should be a very straightforward install. Famous last words. What I have on station, again, are my punches, the HKparts.net pliers, and my mutt. You never know what you're going to need when getting into these things. I know there's a lot of recommended tools and everything, but this install is pretty straightforward. This is under spring tension. A lot of people take off the grips, but I'm not going to be messing with the rest of the internals. So I'm going to try to do it with the grips on for the average Joe. Luckily everything is on one pin here, but you know what, I'm going to take the grips off because it's important to see. I know some of you will never do this. May have to mess with the trigger bar, I'm not sure. It's possible, but I'm not 100%. So we'll err on the side of safety and take the grips off. Plus you get to see what the guts look like. Woo! Looks like there's some red Loctite on those. Yep. Thanks, SIG. Now I know why they're so hard to get off. Although to SIG's credit, the 228s in our armory, first thing they lose are these grip screws. So we have a lot of them in the armory look like this, where there's one missing and one still there. All you do is stick your finger in, pop them out. From the inside, just move them off. Move them off to the side there. Yuck. Is that how we do now? Ew. Just so you know what I'm ewing. That's grease. That's grease. And that's grease. I don't like that at all. That's fucking disgusting. Is that how you get your guns to run right, SIG? Anyways, let's knock this pin out. Now, like the Hobbyist channel said when doing this, it's going to sound a little disconcerting once you get this out of the gun here. Things you want to make sure are happening before you even start pushing pins out. You want to make sure that your hammer is down in the decock position, and you want to make sure that you have control of these springs, because there's nothing holding the tension on that spring right there anymore once you pull this out. So I would take a finger and put it over the top there. Now the pieces that are going to fall out, or whatever this is, I believe that's the sear. It looks like a sear to me. The sear spring and the ejector. So all of those pieces are going to fall out. So remember the orientation now while you have it out. Yep, right out the bottom. This is why you have a white rug. Okay. That's the stock part that this is replacing. And this here is the stock part that this will be replacing. I'm gonna have to take a fucking bath. What is that? What is that, Sig? Looks like you got that off an adult film set. What kind of, ugh. Why? 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 But judging from the inside, that means I'm going to have to almost over lubricate the pieces that I'm putting back in there if that's coming from the factory like that. I didn't use the SIG factory grease when I broke this thing in. So what I'm going to do is take the M-Pro 7 I had on standby and soak this piece down accordingly based on how that one's lubricated. So drop there. That is so disgusting. I think I did that drop. Yeah. Alright, so I'm just going to heavily lubricate this area and then lightly lubricate the sides in the center there. Just to make sure everything's good. Now the way this is going to be oriented when you stick it back in the gun is this way. Luckily, the ejector has a little hook in there that you have to fish it around, and it kind of locks in there. So let's try to do that. You're going to want to feed it from the bottom, and if that sounds frustrating to you, it is. See how I'm feeding it in from the bottom there? Get under that pin. And I've got it in the area I needed to get it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the pin that I punched out earlier and feed it in to retain that piece, because next is going to be that spring, which has fun written all over it. What I'm going to recommend, since this is a three-handed job, is have the pin that you just punched out earlier started not through but up to the ejector. Then fish this back in there. Remember the orientation. This part goes down and this tab is going to face towards the right hand side of the gun. Or the side without the controls on it. Once you have it slid into position, you feed the pin through just a touch, and you also want to keep it out just enough so you can slide that sear spring in there. And also that one piece still has to fit in between the sear and the wall there, so keep that in mind. Try not to impinge that part over there. Okay, what I'm doing with this spring is I cleaned it off. I'm just going to tap it with oil, let it work in there just a little bit. Now I'm going to reinstall it. Now my recommendation is get it in there, push the pin through to hold it, like that. And now get some sort of articulate tool out. I already know that's not going to work. Like these cool little tweezers. The Hobbyist channel had a screw driver that was cut for that he dremeled a little slot into to help to do this. Man, this is going to be, all springs like this are a pain in the ass. And you also have to try not to bend it, so that's cool. Alrighty, got it in there. You don't want to know what I had to do that. But it took 3 hands to do. Next step is going to be back that piece away, because you probably have pushed it over in the process. And you're going to want that pin to be out just a touch. And I mean, so there we go. Back it out just a touch. Because now what you're going to do is have to fish this guy in there, which I'm going to lubricate before I do that really quickly. And all I'm doing to lubricate this is, you can see how green that is, hopefully. All I'm doing is rubbing it on there, and it gives it a nice little sheen. See the sheen? Yeah. Now what I recommend is having a punch on this side, so that when you start pushing the pin through, you have everything pre-lined up. So you can just get the pin in there and then have everything nice and secured. Okay, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, but not nearly as easy as it should have been. Okay, so everything's in there, nice, safe, and sound, and I cleaned the area. The pin is nice and pushed in on both sides, so it won't interfere with the cycle of operations. You do not need to take the grips off to do this. I just kind of did that. I kind of wish I didn't. It's really ugly in there. Ew. I know there's going to be some regular SIG folks out there that are going to be like, well, that's how it's supposed to be, or that's how they do it, or if you looked at other guns, there's grease in them too, or blah blah blah. I've never seen white grease like that that heavy throughout a system before in my life. But it's okay. I'll deal with it. Make sure you get your grips on there again, get everything squared away, and then we'll start playing around with this bad boy. Okay, grips are back on, and the hammer cocks, all good signs here. Let's put it back together. Okay. All previous sins are forgiven. That's how they should come from the factory, SIG. My God, that is night and day. I don't care that it was $50. It could have been the most ragtag stuff ever, and I'm cool with it now. Here's what just happened. Every single millimeter of slop is now out of this trigger. Double action works. And now it resets where it's supposed to. There's still trigger pre-travel if you were just to start in single action, but now when it resets, it fires at the reset. Oh man, I can't wait to shoot this thing now. This may be a new wonder gun with all that. And I do like the stock trigger poundage, so all I really wanted was a shorter single action. Man, I'm very happy with that. Okay. I don't really care that it was $50. It does make you wonder though when you first get it, because it's 2 little tiny parts. But now that they're out, and that's a lot of wear for just 1,000 rounds. Well, 1,200. I have 1,200 rounds through this gun, and that's what those parts look like. So you kind of get it there. However, that's not how many trigger pulls I have. I dry fire this gun a lot. So do with that what you will. And I just dry fired the shit out of it now, just playing with it. But that is much better. I am so much happier with that. If you guys are looking into the SRT kit, now by SRT kit I mean short reset trigger kit, not the actual short reset trigger. There's two different parts. If you want the full package deal, you're going to have to get the kit for $50 and then the trigger independently for however much it costs. But I'm very happy with the stock trigger on this gun. But she's good to go now. That's the installation process. Super short, fast, and easy. Don't have to take everything apart. You punch a pin out, fish the parts out, put them back in, and it's good to go. The only thing I recommend is have either something to keep pressure on the top leg of the spring while you push it down and in, or some sort of notched straight edge so you can just kind of guide it in when you're pushing it down. Also be very careful not to bend it. I'm not going to lie to you. That would suck. But my SIG's good to go now, and I can't wait to shoot it. It's a good thing I waited to go to the range, because now I can take this. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.